not all my subscribers and people who watch my stuff are from the U.S., so I might have some Canadian. I know I have some viewers. I have some British viewers. So this analogy, I don't know what kind of standardized testing you guys had for college entrance. We had SATs here in the States. The SATs, big questions were analogies, kind of like doctor is to hospital, and then you had a couple of choices as like, and the right answer was professor is to university, and you had others that were kind of analogous, but not entirely. So I have an SAT analogy today. Jehovah's Witnesses are to 586 BC as Islam is to blank. The answer is the crucifixion. Now I know I have some Muslims who watch my videos, and I think the proof's going to be the pudding that the Muslims watch my videos, because there's a pretty good chance that there's going to be 6 thumbs in, because the Holder Guard likes to rig up ratings and send sycophants in and jimmy with the ratings, make it look bad. I caught him doing this on a previous video. So that'll be proof that Muslims do watch these videos. And this information may anger a Muslim, and really, I'm just doing it because I care about you. Now, if you are Muslim and you're watching this, I want you to think about the cult known as the Jehovah's Witnesses. If you're a Jehovah's Witness, you've probably been presented this information before, and you've probably just not thought too much about it. But Jerusalem fell in 586. I better plug my computer in here. Jerusalem fell in 586 BC. It's just pretty much historical fact. But against all archaeological evidence, the Watchtower insists that it fell in 607. Insists. And they need it to have fallen in 607 because that's the way they manipulate the timeline in Daniel 4. Well, there's not even a timeline. It's just a manipulation of prophecy given in Daniel chapter 4. And they need, 2,520 years to have passed between the beginning of 1914, so they count it back and then they get 607. And that's when they believe the Gentile times ended, Jesus Christ reigned as king, began reigning as king. And basically, if Jerusalem fell in 586, the Watchtower is toast. It has no claim whatsoever of being picked as God's true organization on it. No claim whatsoever. So if you're Muslim, I just want to also point out real quick the history of this kind of nonsense during the 1800s. Here's a page in 1823, John Aquila Brown published in Eventide that the 7 times of Daniel were prophetic of the 2,520 years running from the beginning of Nebuchadnezzar's reign in 604 to 1917. In the 1930s, William Miller explained that a number of prophecies were to conclude in 1843. So came to the conclusion that Daniel 4 was to end in 1843. To do so, he claimed that 7 times when Manasseh was taken captive in Babylon in 677 BC. Hale and Bliss corrected the date by removing the year 0 that Miller used in this calculation, promoting the time of the end to year 1844. So this Jehovah's Witnesses, this is nothing new here. This kind of manipulation nonsense was done all throughout the 1800s, and Russell just got in on it later. Anyway, so Muslims, you're watching this, and despite the fact that every single encyclopedia and archaeologist, overwhelming evidence and expert opinion is that Jerusalem fell in 586, would you not use this as information that you would show to a Jehovah's Witness and say, you really shouldn't be believing what you're believing if you are truly interested in in the truth? I think so. With this in mind, Muslims, I really want you to think of something. Now, you are going by a book that insists that Jesus of Nazareth was not crucified and did not die. The great New Testament scholar Gary Habermas at Liberty University recently compiled 2,400 scholarly sources on the resurrection writings from 1975 to the present. And whether or not the person was an atheist or a skeptic, and 95% of critical scholars agree that Jesus died by crucifixion. It's recorded in the four Gospels. It's recorded by Josephus, Tacitus, Lucian of Samosata, Marabar Serapion, and the Jewish Talmud. This is from John Dominic Crossan, who was a critical scholar. That he was crucified is as sure as anything historical can ever be. Number two, they also agree on some other things, that Jesus' disciples believed that he rose and appeared to them. They claimed it. They believed it. They gave up thousands of years of Jewish traditions. The disciples transformed from frightened, hiding individuals to witness of the resurrection. Paul was converted. James was converted. Now, this fact number 5, the tomb was empty, 75% of the sources that Habermas surveyed believe this. And the fact that Muslims, really think about it, if you're getting up an empty tomb narrative, why would you have women discover this? Here are from some ancient historical sources. Josephus, let not the testimony of women be admitted. It is probable that they may not speak the truth, either out of hope of gain or fear of punishment. From the Jewish Talmud, any evidence of a woman gives is not valid. So Muslim, you have, I would say, probably more that 95% agree that James converted, that Paul converted, that the disciples believed that he rose from the dead and appeared to them. And I would dare say even more of those sources, more than 95%, believe that Jesus Christ died on a Roman cross. Now, you would tell a Jehovah's Witness that if you're looking to believe the truth, you really shouldn't believe that Babylon fell in 586 BC because of all of the archaeological evidence and expert opinion that it happened in 586, not 607. Using that same reasoning, should you be believing anything other than the fact that Jesus of Nazareth died on a Roman cross? This is not a, ethereal, highfalutin religious idea. This is just whether or not our religious leader named Jesus of Nazareth lived and died on a Roman cross, which your book that claims inspiration from God insists didn't happen. Now, as a Christian, and I do want to, as a Christian, raise my Lord up high and say, he didn't just die on a cross. He died for your sins, and he rose for your justification. And we'll get into that a little more later. But I just want you Muslims to really think about it. Jesus died on a cross. Being that he died on a cross, the Quran is not from God. Please think about it. God bless.